titled Winter. Episode 1 opens up to the White Walkers marching south. We see an undead polar bear and an ice spider being ridden by a White Walker. Bran and Mirror have been allowed through the wall, and they have a scene with Ed. Ed tells Bran that Jon is at Winterfell and King of the North. Bran doesn't tell Ed about Jon's parentage, but he tells Mirror about it afterwards. Mirror then tells Bran that her father hinted that Rhaegar and Lyanna loved each other. Jon, Sansa, Davos, Lyanna, Tormund, and Elise Karstark are at the high table discussing what to do with the castles Carhold, Dreadfort, and Last Hearth. Lyanna wants the castles to go to the loyal houses who helped Jon, but Elise wants Jon to forgive the children of the Karstarks and Umbers. Jon does this, but lets the wildlings take control of the Dreadfort. Arya frees Edmure from the Frey's cells. Edmure is depressed after getting the Blackfish killed. However, Arya tells him to retake Riverrun as the Freys are dead, and with that she leaves him. Tyrion tells the Sand Snakes that he's disgusted that they murdered his own niece, and that after Dany takes the throne, they're going to pay. And near the coast of Dorne, Yara's forces, Tyrell and Martell, and Dany's split up. Yara's fleet is headed towards the Iron Islands, and Dany's is heading towards Dragonstone. And Euron builds his 1,000 ships and heads south. Jaime and Cersei get into an argument. Cersei manages to get Jaime to forgive her and they start having sex. Brienne arrives at Winterfell after seeing the Stark banners. Melisandre and the Brotherhood Without Banners run into each other. Melisandre tells them about how Jon is Azor Ahai, and the Brotherhood Without Banners decide to go to Winterfell, and Jorah arrives in Old Town. Jaime and the Lannister army leave King's Landing to go south and sack Highgarden. Jaime takes Widow's Wail with him. And the episode ends when Dany arrives at Dragonstone. Tyrion and Dany go into Stannis' old war council, and Dany says, "Shall we begin?" Season 7, Episode 2 is titled Blood and Steel. Episode opens up to Jon receiving a message from Tyrion, asking all the Lords of the North to go to Dragonstone and swear fealty to Queen Daenerys. Jon and Davos decide to go, as Tyrion mentioned she had dragons and Dragonstone had dragon glass. Jon leaves Sansa in control of the North and says goodbye to Ghost. Jon and Davos, along with a few Northmen, head to White Harbor. Euron ambushes Yara's fleet, and after a few minutes of battle, Yara saves Theon's life. However, Yara is captured. Tyrion convinces Dany to not use her dragons to take King's Landing, as most of the people who would die would be innocent. Jaime arrives at Hornhill and convinces Randall Tarley to bend the knee by letting House Tarley become the Warden of the South. Jorah goes to the Citadel and finds Sam, who finds out that dragonglass is the cure for grayscale. Jon and Davos arrive at White Harbor and take ships to Dragonstone. And Bran and Meera leave Castle Black on horseback, heading towards Winterfell. Jaime, Bronn, and Randall begin laying siege to Highgarden. Arya attacks Melisandre. However, before Arya kills Melisandre, she tells Arya that she didn't kill Gendry. Gendry sneaks past some gold cloaks and steals Robert's warhammer. As all the Baratheons are dead, Gendry considered King Tommen to be a Baratheon. Cersei finds out the warhammer was stolen, but she doesn't care. However, Cersei finds out she's pregnant after Qyburn examines her. The Tyrell forces surrender and betray Olenna Tyrell, and the episode ends with Olenna telling Jaime that she killed Joffrey, and Olenna then poisoned herself, dying in front of Jaime. Season 7, Episode 3, titled Ice and Fire. Episode opens up with Jon arriving at Dragonstone and meeting Tyrion on the beach. They shake hands and talk about Daenerys. Arya has a dream and rides up the river to find Nymeria. Dany is watching her dragons fly when Jon approaches her. Dany tells Jon to bend the knee. However, he doesn't and asks her to send her dragons north to help fight the White Walkers. She doesn't believe him, but Tyrion tells Dany that Jon isn't crazy and that he should be heard out. Euron captures the Sand Snakes and Ellaria. Euron kills Obara since she was annoying him. Euron forces Lady Nym to take off her clothes and start touching herself. Euron then poisons Tyene and forces Ilaria to watch. After that, he drowns Ilaria for the Drown God and tells the Ironborn that there's going to be an even more glory after he takes the Reach in the Western Lands. Jaime returns to King's Landing and Cersei tells him she's pregnant. Jaime tells Cersei that Tyrion did not kill Joffrey. Jorah leaves Old Town to Dragonstone after hearing Dany was there, so he says goodbye to Sam. Tyrion and Davos come up with a plan to meet up with Jaime to discuss terms of Cersei's surrender. Dany and Jon are talking on a beach when she asks him to pet Drogon, which he does. Then Theon lands on the shore of Dragonstone, which he runs into Jon, who tells him that if he didn't help Sansa, Jon would have killed him. And Theon tells Dany that Euron captured Yara and took control of his sister's fleet. The Brotherhood Without Banners arrive at Winterfell to find out Jon is not there, and the Hound and Brienne meet again. However, Tormund interrupts them. Tyrion and Davos leave Dragonstone for King's Landing to talk with Jaime, and that's when the episode ends with Bran and Arya looking at Winterfell from different locations. Arya's on a horse with Nymeria at her side. Season 7, Episode 4, titled Reunion. Sansa is out praying in the Godswood when Arya and Bran, the Hound is carrying Bran, arrive. Tyrion and Davos arrive at King's Landing, where Bronn and Jaime come out to negotiate. Bronn and Tyrion catch up quickly, however, Jaime refuses to surrender. Gendry spots Davos and the Goldcloaks saw Tyrion, so they follow them back to their boat, where Gendry takes out the Goldcloaks with his hammer and go with Tyrion and Davos back to Dragonstone. Jorah arrives on Dragonstone and reunites with Dany. Jon offers Jorah Longclaw, but Jorah declines the offer. Jon gets a message from Sansa telling him that Arya and Bran are alive and at Winterfell. Littlefinger tells Sansa he'll send the Vale forces home if she doesn't marry him. Qyburn creates a weapon of some sort that will slay dragons and says that the Maester were the ones who defeated the dragons last time they came to Westeros. Davos and Tyrion return to Dragonstone with Gendry and tell Dany that Cersei won't surrender. Gendry tells Jon he knew Arya, and Jon tells him Arya is at Winterfell. The episode ends with Davos and Jon coming up with a plan to get Dany's forces north, and they decide they're going to capture a White. Season 7, Episode 5, titled The Field of Fire. Jon, Davos, Gendry, and Jorah are about to head north when Theon asks if he can join them as a way of getting Jon to forgive him, and Jon allows him to join. Dany splits her armies into two groups, Unsullied and Dothraki, and marches to King's Landing. Randall Tarley and Jaime take Qyburn's weapon that's used for dragons, and leave King's Landing to battle the Dothraki with the Reach and Western forces. Brienne and Arya spar in Winterfell with Ghost and Nymeria watching. Mira tells Bran that she's going to leave Winterfell to go back home, and the Hound tells Sansa that Littlefinger betrayed her father, and Sansa comes up with a plan to take revenge against Littlefinger. Sansa agrees to marry Littlefinger, making Arya angry with her, and the scene cuts away before Sansa tells Arya about her plan. Sam finds out that Jon's real name is Aegon, and leaves Old Town before Euron can sack the place. The Brotherhood Without Banners leave Winterfell and head towards the Wall, along with Tormund and Brienne, as Thoros has a vision of a battle in the snow beyond the Wall. The first battle between the queens begin. Reach forces are defeating Unsullied forces due to Randall Tarley's commanding archers, whom have the sun at their back. Dothraki forces collide with Lannister forces nearby. Bronn kills 2 Dothraki and Jaime kills 1. Jaime seems to be winning the battle until Drogon and Rhaegal appear. Rhaegal kills Randall and Dickon Tarley with Dragonfire. Qyburn's weapon injures Rhaegal, however, Drogon destroys the weapon, and Drogon nearly kills Jaime, however Bronn saves him. And the episode ends with Jaime arriving back at King's Landing and telling Cersei that she should surrender, but she refuses and sits on the Iron Throne. Season 7, Episode 6, The Undead. Jon Snow, Jorah, Theon, Gendry, and Davos arrive at Castle Black. Ed and Jon Snow reunite, and Ed tells him others arrived earlier that day. Brotherhood Without Banners with Tormund and Brienne. Gendry forgives Thoros and Beric for selling him to Melisandre. Beric tells everyone that Jon is Azor Ahai, and Tormund and Davos agree. Jon tells the Night's Watch and Brotherhood Without Banners his plan to capture a White. Davos stays behind at Castle Black and writes a message to Dany saying if she comes north, Jon will lay down his title of King in the North. Jon and Davos give them dragonglass from Dragonstone. And the Night's Watch, Wildlings, and Brotherhood Without Banners head north of the Wall. And after a few minutes of screen time, they run into a lone White. The Hound attempts to tie down the White, however, the White flees, causing the group to chase it down. The group corner the White between a cliff, a frozen lake, and the woods they were emerging from. The White jumps off the cliff, and we see hundreds of Whites climbing the cliff. No one sees the Whites on the cliff. However, several hundred Whites emerge from the woods and pin the group at the edge of the cliff. Thoros and Bendrick ignite their swords, and the battle begins. The Whites whom climbed the cliff made it to the top and attacked the group from behind. Ed is killed along with several other Night's Watch members. White Walkers emerge from the woods. One of them is riding an ice spider. Thoros is killed brutally by an undead polar bear. The Hound tries to save him but is unable to. And a White Walker with dual blades fights Jon and kills Jon with a sword in the gut. Brienne kills a White Walker with Oathkeeper. Jorah retrieves Longclaw from Jon's dead body. And a Brotherhood Without Banners member kills a White Walker with an arrow with dragonglass. Gendry smashes a White's face with his warhammer. The Night's King gets off his undead horse and fights Beric, whom has a flaming sword. Beric is disarmed and mortally wounded in 10 seconds, but still alive, before the Night's King kills Beric. Dany arrives on Drogon with Viserion. Rhaegal was wounded earlier this season. Drogon and Viserion kill several Whites, allowing the group to escape back to the Wall. The Hound subdues a White and takes it with him. A White Walker throws a massive spear in Drogon, injuring him and causing him to fly away. The Night's King shocks Viserion before driving an ice sword through his eye, killing Viserion. Beric crawls over to Jon's body and gives him the kiss of life. Earlier this season, Melisandre tells Beric that Jon is Azor Ahai, and dies. Jon is revived, picks up Beric's flaming sword, and slays a few Whites before he gets injured and disarmed. And before the White kills Jon again, Benjen shows up and kills several Whites with his flaming sachet before dismounting. Benjen carries Jon and puts him on his horse and whispers, "Goodbye, nephew." As Jon is riding away, he helplessly watches as Benjen is surrounded by Whites, and Jon passes out. At the end of the episode, the Night's King resurrects Viserion. The episode cuts away as we see Viserion's blue eyes. Season 7, Episode 7, The Wall. The episode opens up as Jon returns to Castle Black, and is greeted by Tormund, who thought he was dead. The Hound tells Jon he caught a White, and Jon tells Davos to write a message to all the kings, queens, and lords in Westeros to assemble a great council at the Dragon Pit. Jon tells Dany that Viserion was killed, and she says she'll burn every last White Walker in white. Jorah hands Jon back Longclaw, telling him it's his. They leave Castle Black and head to King's Landing. Sam and Gilly arrive at Winterfell, just in time for Sansa's wedding to Littlefinger. Arya is not at the wedding, but Bran is. On the wedding night, Arya takes off her mask. She's wearing Sansa's face. In the Season 5 finale, we learn that you don't have to be dead in order to have a mask, and Arya kills Littlefinger with a knife in the mouth. Cersei finds out that she had a miscarriage, and Qyburn tells her that there has been a call for a great council. She allows for them to have entry to the city due to Jaime's counsel. Bran tells Sam that Jon's parents are Lyanna and Rhaegar. Sam tells Bran that someone named Aegon Targaryen was born at the Tower of Joy. Bran then has a flashback of a wedding between Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark. Sansa manages to prevent the armies of the Vale from leaving thanks to Robin Arryn and Bronn's yawn. Jon and Dany arrive at King's Landing after a meeting between Jaime and Tyrion. Euron has already arrived. Most of the main cast are at this location. Jon Snow, Cersei, Jaime, Tyrion, Davos, Bronn, Euron, Theon, Gendry, Dany, the Hound, the Mountain, Brienne, Podrick, Varys, Grey Worm, Missandei, Qyburn, and Tormund are all present at the Dragon Pit scene. And the Hound brings up the caged White. Jon enters the center of the area and tells the lords of Westeros that the only way to kill these creatures is with fire. So Cersei tests this and orders the mountain to kill the White. The mountain cuts it into pieces, however, it's still moving. Jon asks for all the lords to send their armies to battle these creatures. Jaime agrees with Jon and says he'll help along with several others, including Cersei and Euron. And afterwards, there's a scene between Theon and Euron. Euron tells Theon that his sister's dead, and Theon vows to get revenge. And there's another scene, and Tyrion tells Cersei that he did not kill Joffrey, and Cersei tells him that she already found out. Jaime told her that Olenna killed Joffrey in episode 3. And after Jon and the others leave the city, Cersei tells Jaime that she was lying back there and hopes that her enemies destroy each other. Jaime, however, is disgusted, and he takes the Lannister army and heads north with Brienne. And on the ship heading back to Dragonstone, Jon and Dany have sex after Jon comforts her after the death of Viserion. And at the end of the episode, the Night's King uses magic to destroy the wall, the same one he used to get into the Three-Eyed Raven's cave. And the scene cuts once the Night's King mounts Viserion. And major deaths in Season 7 are Yara Greyjoy, Ellaria Sand, Tyene Sand, Oberyn Sand, Olenna Tyrell, Randall Tarley, Dickon Tarley, Thoros of Myr, Jon Snow, who's resurrected, Dolorous Edd, Beric Dondarrion, Viserion, 2 White Walkers, Benjen Stark, and Peter Baelish. Wow, now that's a hell of a lot of information. Definitely a lot more than the original plot leak. And some of that is pretty damn interesting. Still not sure what to believe or not. Have to see if any more evidence comes out to support any of this new stuff that's in here. But I read it over and it sounded pretty interesting. A lot more interesting than what it said back in October. So I'm kind of curious to get your guys' thoughts on some of this stuff. So comment below and tell me what you think about this. Anyways, I'll see you guys later.